great to see there's some interest in multiplayer. Um, so the mission at Exit Games is pretty simple. So we try to make multiplayer really simple, um, and we are running a software as a service called Photon Cloud, which spans around the world and can be leveraged by game developers very easily with a lot of SDKs. But yeah, now we are, let's say, pretty successful. We are still a small company. We are 15 people. The headquarters is in Hamburg, Germany, and we have an office since 8 years in the US. It used to be in San Francisco. Now it's up in Portland. It's mainly a sales office. But we came a long way. So I just went on YouTube because I remembered we uploaded stuff on there quite a while ago. And I found this from 8 years ago. We did cross-platform multiplayer and mobile multiplayer back in the day. So we started with Nokia Series 40 phones, which was a lot of fun with 64 kilobyte of memory. Series 60, Nokia phones, lots of Sony Ericsson phones. And we actually did a cross-platform prototype, so playing from a Wii across to a PC. So that was all pretty visionary. But it was horribly too early. So we had a hard time. So we got great customers, but still we weren't able to succeed. Nevertheless, we made a lot of learnings, and we continued to stay in that multiplayer space. And about 5 years ago, we launched a new product called Photon Server, which was a socket server, so a high-performance socket server with well-done engineering, native kernel with real-time protocol. So we wrote our own reliable UDP protocol. We support TCP and WebSockets as well. And at that time, about 5 years ago, Unity was not super well known at that time. So they were very tangible. They are still. But we decided to build a Unity library. And with that decision at that time, that was great because we filled a gap. There was nothing really existing at that time for studios, but they started to leverage Unity technology for web games or Facebook games and everything 3D and real time. So that was a great decision. And based on that, we were able to close a couple of great studios. So like Fox or Warner Brother Games or Codemasters. And so these studios had a lot of experience building this type of technology in-house, but they recognized, wow, it's a lot of work, and if we have to reinvent it again, basically using Unity, so they picked our technology, and that kept us alive, and we could invest even more into Photon. And with all our expertise we gathered in the past years. So we started to port all our SDKs across everything. So we have SDKs for native mobile, for iOS, for Android, and we expanded even more into Cocos 2D, into Flash, into JavaScript, HTML5, Marmalade, Corona. So we have everything. But Photon Server still was operations-wise pretty complicated. So you had to operate servers, which is possible, and for big studios it's not a problem at all. But our vision was to make it simple. So, and with Unity, all these indies came into the market, and they were not experienced enough to run 24/7 operations and servers worldwide. So we decided, that was actually where we were coming from, to build a software as a service, which we called Photon Cloud. And we really focused on real-time multiplayer, so no asynchronous multiplayer or HTTP stuff, so really hardcore real-time UDP stuff. So we decided it's not enough to launch in one location, so we are ramping up data centers around the world. So we started in Europe, then we launched US, and because we saw a lot of downloads from Asia, where we thought all these companies would actually have their own technology. So we ramped up data centers in Singapore to serve Korea and Japan, and Australia as well. So that went pretty well. So now we are expanding even further. So we plan to ramp up the US West Coast, South America, Korea, and maybe even China mainland. So China is very challenging. So in terms of developers who are using our stuff, that was really mind-blowing for us. So the lower chart shows you the registrations per month. So when we started in 2009, we got a lot of developers interested, and then every year it was really rising tremendously. So and this year we see about 3,000 developers signing up for our services, and we reached in January we reached about 90,000 registered developers. Well, comparing this to Unity, this is still small, but nevertheless, I mean, that was really great for us to see how much interest we could generate. And just, well, we go through the downloads every time and look, okay, what type of companies are signing up, which type of companies are our customers. So we have really a lot of big companies as paying customers, which is essential for us as a small company. On the other hand, we see really a lot of big guys evaluating us, and the wargaming guys, for example, they downloaded our stuff. They are not obviously a customer. They have their own internal tech. Nevertheless, some teams use us for prototyping, for example. So that is very encouraging for us. So and we see a big uptake in Asia. So about 40 to 50% of our customers or the bigger deals are already happening in Asia. So and this is what I think is a bigger trend, that Asia is a place to be when it comes to mobile gaming and revenues and so on. So the cloud, well, we started obviously with a couple of servers, and now we reached about 140,000 CCUs. That is about 40 million monthly active players, which are running on our clouds. They generate a tremendous amount of traffic, so 1.5 petabyte every month. So I'm getting down to that a little bit later on. 4 million messages per second, and the cloud is a turnkey product. So we thought it's for indies, it's very simple games, but it turned out that even bigger developers like Glue Mobile or Madfinger or Codemasters are tapping into the cloud and leveraging it for their games. So the big driver for us for sure is Unity. So it was the exact right decision to do it 5 years ago. And we started very early with the asset store, which is very important for us. So we have a free version, which is in the top 10. And we have a paid product. It's very low priced. It's in the top grossing there, Unity. And we are very popular, so 5-star ratings. So we have a couple of products. We have a real-time product for real-time multiplayer. We added turn-based feature set, so you can do real-time turn-based, so not really slow. It's not asynchronous, but it's still synchronous. But features like you can rejoin a game, you can save a game state, you can load a game state, and this type of stuff. We just launched a chat product to make it very simple to do IRC-like chat and channels and subscribing channels, being active in multiple channels like a global channel, a clan channel, friend channel, game channel, and so on. We have a special Unity product, and we are about to launch a new product called Photon Voice, where we will allow in-game voice communication, so Skype, but anonymously, and very easy to tap into that. Just a couple of basics now to understand what Photon does in general about multiplayer. So multiplayer is a very broad topic. So at Exit Games, one of the strengths of small companies in general is to really focus on one aspect, and we decided to focus on the raw multiplayer piece, which is connecting, matchmaking, and gameplay. So there's a lot of stuff around. So there were a couple of speeches here from Google and so on. So you have tons of services out there which you can leverage for advertisement, for analytics, for push notifications, for leaderboards, in-app purchase, virtual currencies and whatnot. And every aspect, you have providers which provide everything. You have providers which just provide one particular piece and very good in it. So, but we really focus only on this black piece. And that's and we decided to do so because it's a little bit harder to do. So it's very hard to build a performant socket server piece. So there are two types of multiplayer games, or we try to divide it into two parts. One is MMOs in the traditional sense of World of Warcraft. So you have thousands of people or hundreds of people in a world, in a region playing with each other. And this is a very complex topic. So a lot of developers are looking into it and dreaming of building an MMO, but actually it's very hard. And we haven't found a way yet to provide a turnkey feature that for this type of games. So in Photon Cloud, what we have there, the basic principle, what works for, I guess, 90% of the multiplayer games is rooms. So you have players which join rooms, and inside rooms you can create rooms by name. You can put properties to rooms, like the map which is played. You can attach properties to players. You can hide rooms so they don't show up in the lobby. You can close rooms so nobody can enter. You can leave the rooms open so people can enter all the time. And that's a turnkey feature set you get on the Photon Cloud. And based on this principle, you can build, almost most of the games, be it first-person shooters, racing games, backgammon, chess, even smaller MMOs. So it's very, very powerful, but a very limited number of commands you need. So connecting, the first thing you do is you connect to a region. So we don't, sometimes we get the question, oh yeah, I want to do cross-region multiplayer from Japan to US. But the reality is, based on our experience, people are not really playing across regions. So if you want to do that, you would have to, all the handsets would have to connect to one region which you decide where it is, let's say Europe, and then everybody can play together. But the reality is that you would connect actually the people to the closest region, and then within that region they can play against each other. Photon doesn't care about user identity or anything like that, so you just connect. You can inject a session ID and let that verify it. So for example, you could use a Facebook SDK, connect with Facebook, get the session ID and verify that's a valid session. This could be your own system, it can be Steam, it can be Google, anything. We don't store anything on that, and we just verify that the session ID is correct. The next thing, matchmaking. So, we have random matchmaking, which is pretty straightforward, but the more players you have and the more complex or skill-based your game is, you need to actually implement skill-based matchmaking, because you don't want to have the rookies playing with the professionals. It's very frustrating. Especially in the beginning, you don't have enough players, you want to put in bots and stuff like that. So we have different types of lobbies which you can leverage to do that, like in the SQL lobby, where you can do flexible queries and say, give me certain rooms with certain skill types and map types and so on and so on. And you can actually find friends. But again, Photon doesn't store friend lists or anything like that, so you have to use an external system to get friend lists, but then you can find a friend through a friend ID and join that game. So gameplay, I already showed that principle of rooms. So you have properties, you can raise events, you have like a caching thing, you have interest groups, and very fine-grained control about what you send, when you send it, and it's all binary protocol, very lean, very fast. And that's it. It's super simple. You don't have to deal with any servers. And what happens is that a lot of teams use us in game jams and just develop like a complete multiplayer game within 24 or 48 hours. So, and this is exactly what we try to achieve to make it simple. That nevertheless, multiplayer development is hard, and it's a lot of testing and to do it properly. But nevertheless, at least the beginning steps are pretty straightforward. So a couple of gotchas I gathered. So the first one is we saw the traffic of 1.5 petabyte a month. So that's a reality. In real-time games, you generate a tremendous amount of events. So if you have 5 players in a room, and each of the players sends updates 10 times a second, like the position updates, you can send them unreliable. Nevertheless, this adds up to 250 events per second, or so like 1,000 CCU already generate 20,000 events per second, or 72 million events per hour, or 800 million events per day. So this is all running through our servers and generating a lot of traffic. So in general, you should send less if possible. So only what's necessary. So what we've done in Photon, we've put a cap on the messages per second per room. This is not because we could do more, but at a certain point, if you send every event to everyone, and that's a room concept, it's growing exponentially, and you can't handle that at a certain point anymore. Especially the client can't handle it. So we have one simple concept, which is called interest management. So you can divide your. So in this case, the example is a racing track. So you have a racing game, and all racing cars are racing the same track, and you put a grid across the track and subscribe only to events which are close to you. So let's say the triangle is the starting position, the car. You would only subscribe to, let's say, 3 boxes in the box you are and the boxes around you, and only get these events. And other cars which are racing somewhere completely else, these events you wouldn't get. So and with that simple principle or idea, it's very powerful. You can have like a 32-player racing game and not, let's say, overloading the server and the clients to do stuff. We have dev stories online, so we have some cool developers. So in this case, it's Radial G. It's a UK team building this racing game, and they explained how they did it and how they used the grid stuff. And it's an Oculus Rift racer, and so we try to get these little tricks and make them public so everybody can use it. Another gotcha is CCUs are overestimated. So most developers think they basically take their download numbers and think this is the people which are online at the same time. Actually, it's very low. So based on our experience, if you multiply the concurrent users by 20, you get the daily active users. And if you multiply the daily active users by 20 again, you get the monthly active users. So for example, 1,000 CCU are in fact 400,000 monthly active users. And if you assume only 50% of your user base actually plays online, for example, you need 800,000 downloads to get into that dimension. So it's even experienced developers always just think they have very high CCU numbers. Another thing, traffic is underestimated. So we get a lot of developers say, yeah, I will host it on my own and I will use Amazon, and that's easy. So in real-time games, 1,000 CCU generate about 5 to 10 terabyte traffic a month, and use about 50 to 100 megabit per second bandwidth. And 1 terabyte at Amazon is about $120. So 1,000 CCU, you would need about, let's say, 10 terabyte, so that you would end up paying just $1,000 for the traffic. So and if you take our pricing, where all the traffic is included in our cloud pricing, it's $169. So how do we do it? We can't do magic, but as you guess. So we don't run on Amazon, obviously, because Amazon and all the cloud providers, actually Azure and all these guys, Amazon is always defining the price. All the other cloud providers are following, more or less. So we host with soft layer and on bare metal machines. And in these network intense scenarios, we see 2 to 3 times the performance of bare metal machines compared to virtual machines, and a massive advantage when it comes to traffic or bandwidth cost. Which doesn't mean you have to do everything on bare metal. For sure, you can use cloud providers for a bunch of stuff, databases and so on. But for traffic intense stuff, we would recommend to look into companies like SoftLayer, which now are ramping up data centers everywhere. We are just super happy. It's a great product. So because we are focused on this just multiplayer, we always got a lot of questions. Oh, I want to do virtual currencies and accounts and push notifications and so on. We always redirected developers to a bunch of other services which we thought is good, but we never partnered. And about 8 weeks ago, we decided to partner with a relatively new company called PlayFab from Seattle, ex-PopCap guys, like a really great team. And they took like a 2-year-old technology, spin it out, and built everything that we don't do, basically, from player accounts, data storage, push notifications and everything. And the fit was just very obvious. And so they integrated Photon into their product. That's very interesting, I think, for a lot of developers. So you get the complete value chain, basically, out of one hand, and that's an advantage. That's it from my side. So maybe you have some questions.
I think maybe you gave a very comprehensive presentation here. It seems like a lot of heads nodding. We have someone here in the back.
Hello. We've stumbled upon one issue in our company. I mean, when we launch a game, at the beginning, there are just too few players online for Swift matchmaking, and how maybe can we attach bots to your system?
Yeah, sure. So you can, it's not like a very easy thing to do. Well, first off, you have to develop that bot, and then you have to use it would act like a client. So it would use our client SDK. It would have to run somewhere. You would have to have a pool of bots. So it's possible, and that's what a couple of companies do, but it could be more defined. So that's not perfect in our case. So, but you can definitely do it, and people do it.
Thank you.
So, how do you compete with other services, SmartFox?
Yeah, so SmartFox is like an old competitor of us. So in the Photon server times, so that's a product which competes with SmartFox. So it's on premise, so you can buy a license and then you have to host the server yourself. So SmartFox doesn't have a cloud, so there we are not competing with them on the server side. And SmartFox is a Java backend, and our stuff is .NET based, C#, which is a very good fit with Unity. So I think this is why we have an edge when it comes to Unity, which is a major tool. And SmartFox is very, very strong when it comes to Java, to Flash, traditionally. And they never show up on conferences for some reason. Nobody has ever seen them. I wish I could meet them sometime.
Do you know any people that convert their SmartFox services to Photon successfully?
Yeah, that a lot of people or several companies do that and start with SmartFox and then convert over. But it's it's a rewrite basically, or usually if something SmartFog runs well, so there's not really a reason if you have something running and it runs okay to switch. Usually more the new projects, then you say, oh, okay, let's try out something new. Especially indies are not very, I don't know, loyal at a certain point, right? So sometimes they just try out new stuff, which is totally okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Hello. What about server-side code, for example, authoritative servers and first-person shooters where you need instant data? What about peer-to? How can peer-to-peer resolve that problem? Like the roundabout.
I wish that would be a complete session, and it's a very interesting topic actually. But I thought it would be a little bit too hardcore. Yeah. So the cloud right now, you don't have any server-side logic, so it's a turnkey thing, and this is it. So we developed something that we are about to release. It's called plugins. So this is C# code running on the server in the rooms. The big challenge there is sandboxing stuff. So because we have like 10,000 applications running, sharing all the servers, and so you need to make sure if you screw something up in your code that it doesn't take down anything else. So that's why we only offer it as a private cloud. So we run servers for you only, and then it's only touching you. So we experimented with Lua, which is very good sandboxing stuff. But again, it's so a couple of solutions try to use Unity on the server side in headless mode. So you have the whole physics and everything running on the server side. So
it's the master client, right? One.
No, in fact, like Bolt or Tasharen and these solutions, they have a server-side Unity instance running. So we take a different approach, or we think when you have a game live with 10,000 CCUs, you can't afford to restart stuff and memory leaks and so on. So you're better off having a very clean C# code, but that comes at a higher cost because you need to think about how do you calculate stuff on the server side. So if you want, we can have a discussion on that offside. It's a very interesting topic, and we are constantly trying to find something to make it really good.
But there are already games who manage to successfully with peer-to-peer, right?
Yeah, we have a couple of games that use plugins already. You can always take Photon Server, then you have the full control over the server side anyway. But what's amazing that in the cloud even very complex games are running, so that are not having authoritative logic.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.